It's just another day here on Inside Coverage on Yahoo. Another day in which a 44-year-old grandfather who coaches high school football decides to show up in Indianapolis and play football for 4 more games and whatever is going to happen. Hey, I love it. My favorite story of the year, maybe in years. With that, welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Andrew Siciliano. We're here every Monday through Thursday, the how and the why, any and everything you need to do and know in the National Football League on yahoosports.tv, the Yahoo Sports app, all the fast channels, wherever you want to watch us, we are there. And obviously, it's not just me, because then you turn the show off. It is C. Rob Charles Robinson. It is Jori Epstein as well. My senior NFL Raiders, who are here to try to explain to me how Philip Rivers is going to do this. I don't know that he is, guys. I honestly don't care. Like, I want to see him win, but like watching these press conferences today, can we just get a yes? Wasn't it fun?
So much fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question.
Like, didn't you laugh?
Someone asked
did it make you smile?
Someone asked Philip Rivers' weight. That was my favorite moment. Is when
It was great.
he got asked what.
He goes, I don't know. I
don't think he
and then he
liked
came
the
back
question.
to it. It was like, well, no, okay, it's 237. But he goes, I never ran away from anybody. Anyway,
Right.
Like, what
for 17 years.
Well, like, it was a press conference that was like full of joy. Like, it made me happy. And we talked yesterday, Charles, about like, the Hallmark movie, and it was the Rookie with the high school teacher in Texas, the pitcher all of a sudden coming out and pitching for the Rays. Jory, you were watching that today. It was like the best warm holiday hug ever. Just this guy going like, oh, shucks, I'm going to go do this.
Oh, absolutely. And he's like, and my wife and my kids kind of have questions, but all I know is if I don't try, I'm certainly not going to do it. And I just thought the way that Philip Rivers kind of took us through what was happening this week, and Shane Steichen, the Indianapolis Colts head coach as well, was just so much fun. They're like, look, it was Sunday night. We realized we don't have Daniel Jones. He's got the Achilles on top of the broken fibula. Anthony Richardson still not cleared to come back from the doctors after that orbital fracture in the area of his eye. And oh, by the way, Riley Leonard, the 6th-round rookie, is now suffering some sort of knee injury. It's kind of unclear. He's been practicing this week, but he's not going to be 100%. And so they, on Sunday night, called Philip Rivers and were like, what do you think? And Philip Rivers admitted that while he hadn't previously considered coming back, he did wonder after seeing the Daniel Jones injury if Shane would call him, because he knew they've been in touch. Shane Steichen coached him with the Chargers. They've been in touch on the playbook because he's been running it with his son's high school team this year. So he felt like psychologically or mentally, from both a teammate standpoint and a game plan standpoint, he was ready to go. They said, well, why don't you sleep on it? Like, why don't you get back to us Monday? And on Monday, Philip Rivers was flying out there. He was going to get throwing sessions in. Tuesday at the hotel room, he's like, dadgummit, let's do it. So, I mean, that's where we're at. And I think Colts teammates are, if nothing else, amused. I mean, when they talk about, is there juice in the locker room? And Shane Steichen's like, yeah, he's going to bring juice. And you have Zaire Franklin, who has been around since 2018. And like, he's seen Jeff Saturday become the interim coach in the middle of the year in 2022. Yeah. So he goes, like, nothing surprises me around here anymore. Unexpected questions call for unexpected answers. And I think there's just kind of embrace the chaos mentality. And as you guys said, this idea of no, Philip Rivers is probably not going to elude a pass rush, but he wasn't doing that when he was playing before anyway. So Can he just generally stay healthy and allow Jonathan Taylor to do his thing, allow the defense to do his thing, and generally operate the game plan and let everybody else make moves?
Charles, before you jump in, I'm doing a poor job of setting up the show. So let me do this and say that Daniel Jeremiah is going to be here shortly, the NFL Network, a friend of the program, draft expert, podcaster, man about town. He knows Philip pretty well, has some really good insight on this. But a lot of what Jori just said, we should play it for you. Hey, Andrew, before you get to your friends on the show, you should actually play the sound and the context here. So here you go. Here's Philip Rivers, Shane Steichen, maybe in there as well, from earlier today.
All right. No Zoom. Let's go. I think for me, the decision wasn't easy. And because of all the things that you all can imagine. there's human nature to have a little doubt, And I think for me, working through that was, well, that's normal. That's normal to have a little doubt. Who wouldn't have doubt after 5 years? But is that doubt real or not? And it's like, well, let's again, like I go back to our first answer. The only way you can find out is to go. And so I've been excited. The guys I've talked to too. And again, we're taking this thing one day at a time. But I'm not here to stick and save the year or be a hero by any means. We got to stick and run the crap out of the football and play defense and do all those things. So if that comes to be, and I'm the one that's out there, I'm not here to try to save the day. I'm going to know where I'm limited, and as we go, it will get better. If that's the route we end up going. But again, full confidence in Shane and Chris and the organization in making those decisions as we move forward each and every day.
All right, Charles, how do you not love that?
Oh, I mean, it's great. All the stuff I watched today, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, when he talks about kind of how it unfolded, you're thinking, like, now it's Hollywood, but you're thinking Moneyball, Billy Bean, Scott Hatterberg sitting in his living room, kind of like, oh, it's over. I'm just kind of sitting here. And the next thing you know, Billy Bean's like, you going to let us in? Like, we're outside. Like, we want you to be our first baseman. And you think of Bernie Mac and Mr. 3000, right? Wasn't it the movie about how he had to get his 3000
That's a deep cut there, yeah.
That's a deep cut. I mean, you think of all these movies about veterans coming back and kind of invigorating teams and how they relate to their teammates. And, he filled in all of it. I think the press conferences were exactly what we hope they would be, the way he's approaching it. And we're going to get to the football, though, at some point. And I won't lie, I'm curious. I want to see what it looks like with Phillip Rivers throwing the football, and thought it was funny when he got asked the question about his weight, and he said something along the lines of, like, for 17 years, I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't running from anybody.
237 is his weight, he claims.
So yeah, it's a fun late season story. It'll be interesting to kind of see where it goes. But I think we also have to, and I hate to be the heavy here, but we have to consider reality. This is about as desperate, I think, as it can possibly get if you're the Indianapolis Colts to pull somebody out of retirement basically 5 years down the line and hope that you can put something together. But I think the way that Rivers said he's approaching it is at least realistic from the standpoint of the football.
And you heard the siren outside Jori's window. That's the alarm going off in Indianapolis. That is
exactly.
how
That's the desperation
it is that they decided to call the guy that hasn't played in 5 years. There you go. And I hope he doesn't have, like, joking aside, like, I hope he doesn't have to leave in an ambulance. It's one thing, and DJ and I talk about this coming up a little bit. It's one thing to be like, oh yeah, like, and Phillip said this: routes on air, not real football. The guy hasn't been hit. I just hope he gets through this okay. I hope there isn't like a freak ligament pop because he hasn't been running from anybody, or that he can get warmed up okay, or, joking aside about old men and grandfathers and wheelchairs and all of that. There's shape, and then there's football shape. There's throwing the football, and, like, this video is ridiculous. He's wearing Daniel Jones' number. And that's another cool part of the story, because Daniel Jones has been wearing 17, but because he's on IR, they can give him his old jersey number back. And I thought it was really, really heartening as well, Jori, how Rivers said today, and he said, look, I want to step back here and thank Daniel, because obviously I reached out to him, and I've been a big fan of how he's played this year and how gracious Daniel Jones was in saying, take my number. It's fine, man. It's yours. Like, take it back.
Yeah, I guess I was a little more skeptical of the whole thing. Like, I feel like it's kind of, how do you say no to Phillip Rivers when he wants your number and you can't play?
Sure,
maybe I'm wrong on that. And I don't know Phillip Rivers, so, like, I'm not saying he was trying to pressure him, but I do feel like there is an element of, like, can you really say no to that?
Yeah, if they win, if they go to Seattle and win, yeah, exactly. If they go to Seattle and win this game, I'm looking down at the schedule right now. They get San Francisco after that, and they're a Monday night in a couple of weeks. Like, I would put all of his games in prime time. It's too late for that. This is the This is like the American feel-good holiday story for the year. I want to see every single one of them. And I'm not exaggerating just for the sake of like some social media clip. Like this is it. Like, what are the other games? Like, let's pull up the other games this week. Lions-Rams, great game. Would you rather watch Phillip Rivers do anything or watch Panthers-Saints? Anybody? I know they're not in prime time.
Listen.
Jets,
The
Jaguars.
Panthers
I get it.
are feisty now, Andrew.
Okay, Jaguars lead the division. I'd rather watch Phillip Rivers play anybody than watch Commanders-Giants. Just me.
Yeah,
That's
I'm just here for the whole Shedeur Sanders hive coming out and being like, look at how you react when Phillip Rivers wants to come back after not playing for 5 years. What about all the questions you had?
Oh, Charles,
somehow
don't go
they
there.
will take offense to this. I'm just saying.
Charles, don't go there. Don't go there, Charles, or you may have a
Browns
video.
Question for you guys on this. I have a Browns question for you
You may
guys
have
on
a
this
positive video that's been edited to make it seem negative. But go ahead, Jori. Yes, because I know that.
I am legitimately curious. So obviously when Joe Flacco rejoined the Browns 2 years ago at this time, he'd been out of the game for 11 months, not for 59 months. So it's not the exact same thing. They're not the exact same age. But something worked when that happened. They had a strong defense. There was a cast probably better offensively than they have now. He had a receiver in Amari Cooper who he really had some connections with in some of the games. So I'm just curious, when you guys look at what the Browns did with Joe Flacco during that season, does that tell you anything about what the Colts could do with Phillip Rivers? Or do you just think this is apples and oranges because of the age and how long he's been out of the game?
I think the Browns schedule set up a little bit better than what the Colts schedule sets up. In this case, I think Flacco's got the better arm. He hadn't taken 4.5 years off. Certainly, I would push back a little bit. They have Jonathan Taylor. The Browns were without Nick Chubb. He was injured week 2 that year. They had Kareem Hunt. They had Jerome Ford. They're trying to piece together the running game. Yes, you had Amari Cooper, and you had Elijah Moore, and you had David Njoku. You certainly had some weapons there. Cedric Tillman in his second year, like the light came on. Someone's actually getting him the football. I think the Colts have some weapons. I'm legit concerned about Phillip taking hits. Legit. It's been nearly 5 years. I don't want to see the guy get hurt. But there is a template here, Jori, to your point, that this can work. With the Browns, Flacco started for the first time on the road in LA here. They faced the Rams. He lit it up. They lost. He also turned it over a couple of times. But then they went on a 4-game heater. And he had 300 yards in every game. They beat a bad Texans team. A playoff-bound Texans team that didn't have a starting C.J. Stroud the day they faced them. They beat a bad Jets team in primetime. I'm trying to think who else they beat. He lit it up. If Phillip Rivers wins comeback player of the year and if they make the playoffs,
we're not
he is
allowed
comeback
to
player
vote
of the
for
year.
him because he didn't come back from some injury. I voted for
Oh my
Flacco that year,
God.
and I stand by
like,
it. But I don't think they're going to count 44 years old as enough adversity to qualify him for this award.
They should just get rid of the award. Can we agree? Get rid of comeback player of the year award. Like what they gave it to Geno Smith a couple of years ago. Love me some Geno. What did he come back from? Mediocrity. He came back from being a second-round pick that never really made it.
Yeah,
I understand.
That's
DeMar Hamlin should win every year. Just cancel the award. It's fine.
Truly.
The thing with Phillip though too that I don't think we're talking enough about is we're scared about him getting hit and everything, but as Jori said, 11 months versus 59 months. You can't tell me that in that expanse, the speed of the game, it's going to be a little wild for him because you have not been standing on a field with your feet and cleats planted in that grass or the turf and fully realize what it feels like walking away from or being away from the speed, not only of the defensive line in front of you, but the windows you're throwing into, the complexity of the defenses. And Phillip's, the keys here, he's got size and he's got an arm. That's what Flacco brought to the table. He had size and an arm. And, so that buys you a little bit of leeway in terms of taking those hits and being able to, get rid of the ball quickly if you have to, manufacture some things while you're on the field. You don't want someone with like Bryce Young's stature sitting out for 5 years and then coming back into the game. But again, I think just that overall speed and sure, he had many years dealing with it, but to step away from it for 5 years, there would be an acclimation period for almost anybody, and you would hope it would be training camp, right? The off-season passing program.
Right.
You would hope that you would get ample time to adjust yourself. He's not going to get any of that. He's going to walk right in, and next thing you know is he's got, defensive linemen who are trying to tear his head off. That speed, to me, I think, is what ultimately is going to make or break the next couple of games for him. And I am completely here for it being a great story. I will be stunned if it looks good or even respectable down the stretch. I will be very surprised if he plays well in the next couple of games, let alone the first quarter we watch.
So
well, Sierra, I think you make such good points, because even if Phillip Rivers understands his teammates well, and even if he understands Shane Steichen's system, there's still the defense on the other side. And so I think there's two elements of this. One is defenses have evolved significantly since Phillip Rivers was in the league. And I mean, I can't tell you exactly which of the teams he played the last year and which would have the most similar system to Mike Macdonald's. But I once had someone in the league tell me that they felt, and this was when Mike Macdonald, the current Seattle Seahawks coach and defensive play caller, was still in Baltimore as their defensive coordinator. They felt like Mike Macdonald was the Sean McVay of defense. The idea being that he really was so cutting edge in his defensive principles, and obviously he's got now also the personnel to run those schemes. So there are going to be some disguises and schemes that he really just probably didn't go up against in this exact way. And then on the other hand is so much of reading defenses is about pattern recognition. And a big part of pattern recognition is how recently have you seen those? Like your brain has to have that bank that it can immediately pull upon the recall. And I don't know that 5 years ago, 15 years ago is going to have the same impact. I'm not saying it won't do anything, and I'm not saying he's not going to be able to understand what's going on. But like you're saying, the speed at which he needs to respond, there are going to be some disadvantages because of the layoff.
Well, checks, checks, sight adjustments. I mean, he doesn't have the, even in the chemistry with teammates when you've played with him for long enough and you're looking at a wide receiver and he's seeing what you're seeing. He's going to make a sight adjustment. You played with him long enough to know with that sight adjustment what he's going to do with his route. He doesn't have any of that, right? And so what are you checking into? How are you dealing with disguises? Your pre-snap versus post-snap. World of difference now in the NFL. And I would argue that in the last 5 years, it's mattered more pre-snap versus post-snap than ever before.
Especially against Mike Macdonald.
Yeah. A lot of heavy. I know it sucks that we're the ones that are saying,
this is a bad first matchup. Let's put it that way. Coming up next, a little more Phillip Rivers talk with Daniel Jeremiah. He has some unique insight here as to how Phillip has been getting ready and if this will work. Also, who's going to be the number one pick in the draft in Pittsburgh? I will ask renowned draft analyst Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network that question coming up next. So this isn't work. This is just me and Daniel Jeremiah having a conversation here, but we're going to put it on the air. It's inside coverage on Yahoo. Hi, I'm Andrew, and this is the star of NFL Network, the draft coverage guru, Move the Sticks podcast, 40s and Free Agents, where he puts up with Greg Rosenthal, Hot Stove Padres reporter. DJ, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, buddy. It's just like we're at a baseball game, minus the hot dogs, just hanging out, having a good time with my buddy.
DJ's got great Padres seats. How many of them? Family seats.
5, there's 5. They're on first base. They're good. Good seats.
They're good. They're so good that when I've been to Padre games and I try to get down to say hi to DJ, that they say, "Sir, you can't come down here."
Well, and you said they as in plural, multiple people, not just one. I mean, it's a whole staff there to protect that area.
How old are you?
I just turned 48 5 days ago.
Okay. Happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you.
How did you feel physically when you got out of bed this morning?
I'll tell you this. I play a little bit of golf, and to the point now where I like to line up my putt when you get in a catcher's position, place your ball to line up the putt. And now that is so uncomfortable and hurts so bad that I have relegated myself to just dropping the ball and trying to use the putter to kind of move it around a little bit so that I don't have to get in the catcher's position. Needless to say, I will not be playing. I would not be up for playing in a turkey bowl much less putting on a helmet and pads and going to try to play real football.
So you know where I'm going here.
Yeah.
DJ played quarterback at the major college level. You've taken plenty of hits. Can you imagine? And I know Philip Rivers is throwing the football in Fairhope, and he's coaching and he's staying active. Can you imagine not having gone through training camp, not having gone through an off-season program, actually getting hit by the Seahawks this Sunday?
I can't, but I was around Philip for several years, and there's nothing about this that surprises me at all. I've never been around anybody who loves football more than he does, who, in an unorthodox way that he throws it, I'm sure he can still throw the ball well. He's just always been a talented thrower. And towards the end of his career, when his mobility, because of injuries and different things, had completely vanished, he was able to just catch, rock, and throw. Like you're in the gun, catch, rock your shoulders, and just kind of get the ball out quickly and try and protect yourself that way. I don't envision you're going to see a lot of 5-step. Not going to see a lot of stuff trying to get real vertical down the field. So I am so fascinated to see how it works. My favorite story that I heard, which I have not found out if this is 100% true, but then again with Philip, you get kind of some folklore, was that he had to take his cleats out of a trophy case to get to Indianapolis to be able to, because he used those, I think they're Reeboks or something. He has those specialized cleats that he wore. They were different. I don't know, was his foot issues or what have you, but he wore a different type of a cleat than everyone else. I want to say he even had to get permission from the NFL at one point in time to be able to still wear those. But so I don't know that's 100% true, but I heard a rumor of that, and I was like, that's the best thing that I've ever heard.
I mean, that's the opening scene in the movie, you realize, right? Like
crack open the trophy case?
Right. It's a shot on the trophy case, and then it pans wide to the full room, and then the door opens, and then the old man wipes the sleep out of his eyes, and he walks up to the trophy case, and he looks at it, He takes a deep breath, and there's like a flashback of him throwing a touchdown pass from like 20 years ago and pumping his fists and celebrating and like running off with his wife or something like that. And then he opens the case, he takes the cleats out, and then the next shot
is in Seattle.
Like him on the practice field.
Well, I was going to say, is him in the rain falling in Seattle with Leonard Williams in his stance next to Byron Murphy. And
being chased by like 22-year-old Nick Eamon-Worry.
Yes, well, that's fantastic.
Like you just said, DJ, I don't know if it works. So let's look at the schedule. Here for the Colts.
It's brutal.
They go to Seattle this week, obviously, and then it's home for San Francisco, home for Jacksonville, who they just lost to last week, and then at Houston. Do you think it works?
I mean, I would say the odds are heavily against it. Just we don't see this type of thing. Jonathan Taylor would have to be Superman, which he's capable of being. They can get him going. And the one thing about Philip that I don't know people have talked about with him is he's the smartest football player I've ever talked to. Like, forget like ever scout or been around. He's the smartest one I've ever had a conversation with. Like, he's on a different level. I think he could be an NFL head coach in short order. He's already done the high school thing. He's coaching his son. I think he could be a college head coach. I think he could be an NFL head coach. He's going to get them in very good run looks. So there's not a defense he has not seen. He is excellent at getting the right play called at the line of scrimmage. There's no learning curve. He knows this offense probably better than the coaching staff does. So he's going to be able to get them in some right run fits to be able to have some success in the run game there. So I think that could be a way he helps the team without even having to throw a ball.
Talking to Daniel Jeremiah here from NFL Network. Let's explain all the San Diego connections here. You live in San Diego, born and raised in San Diego, obviously a lifetime Charger fan. You work for the Chargers, worked in the NFL forever. So your knowledge of Philip Rivers here is obviously first-rate and firsthand. I want to switch over to the rest, however, of the AFC as a Charger broadcaster.
Yeah.
You've seen a bunch. Just the AFC in general. Is anyone here any good?
I think everything that I hear, and I talk to buddies that work for all of these teams, and everyone says the same exact thing, which is just get in the tournament, man. If we can just get in the tournament, whatever flaws that we have, there's no perfect teams in the AFC this year. And if you look at kind of the traditional teams you've had to go through, the gauntlet, it really was the gauntlet of quarterbacks you had to get through previously, which was at the peak of his powers, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. I don't think this Buffalo team is nearly as good as some of the other teams that Josh has had around him. Now, Josh is so incredible, and he can will this team and with his incredible tools be able to get them through this version of the AFC. But it's not the gauntlet. It's not the Tom Brady Patriot era where you had to go through those guys as well. So New England's really good. They're playing great. They've won 1 million games in a row. Denver, same thing. But I don't get the sense of like, oh man, this is us having to go into Baltimore, 2 or 3 years ago, or us having to go through, a Joe Burrow-led Bengals team on the way to obviously the Patrick Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs, which have had a stranglehold on this thing since Brady. So all of those traditional powerhouses, and I should have mentioned Kansas City first and foremost, that's not the gauntlet anymore.
You guys beat them in Brazil, and you get them again this week. You have to go to Kansas City to face the Chiefs, who face elimination. How absurd is that? I mean, it's like a 14 parlay here. But if I had told you that you guys, the Chargers, would go to Kansas City for a 1 o'clock Eastern kick week 15 with the Chargers facing elimination, if I'd said that like back in August, you would have said,
you read the schedule wrong. We're supposed to have to play them on a short week on a Thursday night.
No, I'm sorry.
That's what I would. That's what I would have said. I would have said, wait, we get to play the Chiefs on the road on a Sunday and not on a short week Thursday night. Wow, that's nice. But no, it's nobody anticipated Kansas City being in this spot at this point in time. But here you are. The Chargers got a chance to kind of put the final nail in their coffin if they can go there and get a win. But when you have a team, like they have with the veterans they have, there is a lot of pride there. That was a very close game in Brazil, by the way they came back in that ball game. Justin had a nice run there to kind of end it. But you're going to see backs against the wall, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones. You're going to get a really, really firm punch from that team this weekend. So a chance to potentially knock them out. But it's going to be a bigger challenge than I think people are anticipating.
So you called the game on Monday night with a friend of the program, Matt Money Smith, up in the booth. They're high up in the booth in the corner at SoFi. Fix the Eagles for me. Can you do that? How do you do that?
Yeah, you get Lane Johnson back. It seems to be like if you look at the numbers, I've never seen anything like that for an offensive lineman. The with and without numbers with Lane Johnson are insane. It goes from 600 something, win percentage to 300 something win percentage when he's not in there. So that helps. They have to be a run heavy team, and when they do that, they're going to get more favorable looks in the passing game, and I think it'll clear up the picture, and they'll be able to get some one-on-ones and off they go. I mean, Jalen's got to play a lot better. I think that will help with that, but if he's not seeing the field the way he's not seeing the field right now, they're not going to go anywhere. So that has to be fixed, has to be cleaned up. I do think that you get Lane back. The defense I think that's the best corner group that I've seen this year with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, they did a phenomenal job in coverage. That is a very talented defense, and they get Jalen Carter healthy and back down the home stretch. That I have no issues, no concerns. I know the Bears ran all over them. I think that was kind of a one-off. I don't really worry about them on that side. But you get Lane Johnson back healthy, and you hope that somehow you get a little confidence in Jalen Hurts and he starts seeing the field a little bit better.
I mean, Nick Sirianni had to angrily shoot down questions about benching Jalen for Tanner McKee.
It's not a great place to be at when you're coming down the home stretch when you've got a Super Bowl MVP caliber quarterback that's not playing well. But the pressure cooker there that's every week. It doesn't change. I mean, I think they got a 15-minute reprieve when Schwarber re-signed with the Phillies. Maybe that was a 15-minute block they were able to take off the radio coverage where they weren't ripping on Jalen Hurts, but I'm sure they got right back to it.
Kyle Schwarber, speaking of old men, he could roll out of bed at like 50 and hit 50.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. He looks like he's swinging a golf club.
I remember years ago, this is like 20, 25 years ago, doing a show on Fox Sports Radio, and John Kruk said, I hit good fat. And Kyle Schwarber years from now will hit good fat at like 50, and it's not going to matter. You mentioned on your 40s and Free Agents pod with Greg Rosenthal, part of an NFL media production that I was listening to yesterday on my workout, that you love watching the Bears every week. You watch Ben Johnson's offense. I'm going to be in Chicago this week, Browns Bears. It's going to be, I believe, 8 degrees without the wind chill.
Whew.
So I'm excited for that. But what stands out to me, just look at the numbers here. Obviously, they're fun to watch, but what they're doing in the run game, the yards before contact for their backs is off the charts.
Yeah,
it's not like
push.
It's not like 3 yards, but it's like 2.7, 2.8, I think. So what they are scheming up in the run game is working every week, like you mentioned the Eagles game on Black Friday. What are they doing?
Well, they're getting an incredible push with their interior 3, and a lot of it is just down blocks where you're not having to, make an incredibly athletic reach block where you're having to get around somebody and try and cut them off. They're just washing guys down the line of scrimmage and creating creases, and they've been able to hit it. And then they're getting explosives off of that. A good number of it to Loveland, since he started cranking up the tight end, be able to get him vertical. That's a big-time weapon. The blueprint was there when they had Laporta with Ben Johnson in Detroit, so they know exactly how to use a player like this. Luther Burden, in terms of what he can do with the ball in his hands, run after catch. So they've got a lot of different ways to do it. I think nobody really talked about it much last game. I know they mentioned the broadcast, but I didn't think in any of the conversation after their loss to Green Bay that people gave enough attention to Rome Odunze not playing. I do think he's a big key to what they do because of the size, especially down the red zone, the physicality that he can play with is a really nice complement to what they do. But it's not just schematically what they do in terms of the advantage. I talked about this on there. I mean, from when they break the huddle, they get over the ball. They might shift once or move a little bit, but man, they are going. So they don't give the defense a lot of time to digest the picture and get a real comfortable feel for where they are and what they're doing.
Rome Odunze, by the way, prepping for this game last night, I came upon this note. I had totally forgotten that he went to Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And so if you add up, I was talking about this with Cedric Tillman recently, the talent they had, it might have been the greatest collection of high school talent on one team offensively. So they had Rome Odunze, Jalen Naylor, Brevin Jordan, Cedric Tillman, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson was their quarterback.
Yeah, not bad, huh?
5 legit NFL players. I mean, I realize DTR is looking for a job. It is probably one of the quarterbacks right now saying, you kidding me? They called Phillip Rivers and not me? Like Desmond Ritter, Taylor Heineke. Like we can't get a sniff here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what a collection.
That's been a powerhouse program for a long time.
Yeah, long time. All right, real quick on the draft. I heard you with Rich Eisen say a couple of weeks ago, Rich said, hey, who's the number 1 pick in the draft? And you said, I have no earthly idea.
Yeah.
And I know that wasn't, I'm in the middle of Chargers season. I haven't turned my attention yet to the draft. I understand how your process works. You're not fully there yet. But I also know that was partly saying, like, it could be anybody. Like, it could be Mendoza. It could be Dante Moore. It could be Arvell Reese. It could, 7, 8 guys potentially? Maybe that's a little bit extreme. Like, do we now, 3 weeks later, have any idea who that would be?
I think Mendoza is probably the clear favorite. At the Penn State game and the plays he made at the end of that game against Ohio State, showing the toughness as well as some of the accuracy down the field. I think he's kind of separated himself a little bit at that position, and you know how it is. Usually that's what we're going to get. You're going to get a quarterback up there, whether it's a team that has the number 1 pick or a team that's going to auction off that number 1 overall pick. So I'd say he's the favorite. I'm sure he's going to win the Heisman Trophy this week. Not that factors into any of the draft stuff, but he's clearly ascended towards the end of the season. My comment there, Andrew, is almost more about the higher rated players in this draft, like some of the higher graded players. A couple receivers for me. Tate is unbelievable. Lemon's really good at USC. Those are top 10 graded type players. Sadiq, the tight end at Oregon, again, not a premier position, but a premier player. Caleb Downs, safety at Ohio State. How high do you take a safety? Those are some of the highest graded players. Arvell Reese would be my highest graded player where we are at this point in time right now. It was a quiet Big Ten championship game for him. Didn't do a lot in that game, but he's a freak show. So there's that whole collection of players that are the highest graded guys. But as we know, Jeremiah Love up there as well, running back from Notre Dame. Again, another position that's not traditionally valued all the way up there. So that's what makes it kind of a unique year. And at the time, there hadn't been a quarterback that separated himself. I think the gap right now, though, with Mendoza, I think he has separated himself from Dante Moore a little bit.
What's fascinating is if, let's say, the Saints get up there, does Tyler Shuck
might be out of the quarterback market now, the way Shuck's played.
Right. You'd have to think there's no way the Titans go back in and get another quarterback.
They
have Cam Ward. You've seen enough. I mean, there are a couple of throws every week where you're like, wow, okay. Yeah, he's the guy. You got to build pieces around him. Who gets up there and are the teams that do need a quarterback? Let's say the Raiders aren't number one, right? Yeah. Are they willing to give up assets for Mendoza or whichever quarterback, Dante Moore, whoever that decides to come out? Or do you play the board? You always fear that somebody could jump you. What does it cost to get up this year? I know we're really, really early, but the idea that you could have teams in the top 3 that don't need a quarterback is very real.
Yeah, no, and that's, and every year we say this and every year we go, the quarterback's not worth parting with all the picks you'd have to part with to get up there, and it'd have to be a steep discount. And then what you do is that ends up not taking into account an organization and a front office and a coaching staff that's had to watch terrible quarterback play for an entire season. And it's damn the torpedoes. I don't care about the price. I literally cannot watch this level of incompetence at the quarterback position again. So we'll deal with next year's picks next year. Let's fix. I can't watch this anymore. We need somebody different. Whatever it costs, we'll pay it.
And not even including the Browns here, who took two quarterbacks last year, and one of them now is playing phenomenally. What a world it would be if you get through the next couple of weeks. And believe me, Shedeur has shown some great stuff.
It's been fun to watch,
especially this past Sunday.
Yeah,
so fun to watch. Like worked hard, climbed the depth chart, and lighting it up. Like the world. How much easier would their world be if you get through this next month against very difficult opponents, and you go, yep. Absolutely. We don't need a quarterback anymore. And now we're sitting here with 2 first-round picks. What a world that we – and by the way, like, you're kind of inching towards that world right now. Like, it's certainly looking like that is the case. If you had told me they would have lost to the Titans and there would have been, like, this idea of, wow, hope, positivity, I would have said there is no scenario where that is the case. But when you go 364 – 3 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, the grit and toughness to lead 2 length of the field drives in the final 6 minutes. Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that works. That'll play. I said, competition's going to get tough. He doesn't have to play perfect football, but if he plays like he's playing right now, plays with confidence, getting some big plays, pumping the ball down the field, that's a longer discussion for another day, but when you're trying to turn around something that has gone poorly for decades, I think having somebody that's got a full tank of confidence and it can be very, very helpful. There's a reason why Indiana is where they are in the college football world. Got a head coach with an incredible amount of confidence. I've seen, up close firsthand Jim Harbaugh and the confidence he's brought to a Chargers team and winning games historically they would lose, for the last 20 years, late in ball games like that. That's an important thing to have when you're trying to get the ship turned around, and Shedeur absolutely has that.
Yeah, and it's a great pathway to turn things around. You use the Brock Purdy example. Brock Purdy is able to wipe out past mistakes, right? With a low-round quarterback. You can get a quarterback that comes at a discounted price, and you get a lottery ticket there, basically, to cover up some past mistakes. If that can happen, and it certainly looks like you're moving in that direction, that would be huge for the Browns. Safe travels to Kansas City. We have a 40s and free agents coming up, or was it?
We just had one coming up. We just did one.
Right, I heard
with
that
Greg.
One.
So that
That's
one.
Right.
Yeah,
you said I don't have to
quarter.
deal with him until February.
Yeah. We do one every quarter. So we'll do one at the end of the season, and then we'll be, like I said, I was telling him the free agency class is supposed to kind of suck. That's really Greg's world, so no harm, no foul there. You don't get as much, Greg content. I think everybody's going to be just fine with that. But so we'll lean in a little more on the draft.
You got to deal with Bucky and the Dodgers, his fake Dodger fandom instead. Yeah.
Johnny-come-lately Dodger fans are the worst.
It happens. Padre fan number 1. And I found out this week, I didn't know your dad used to be the chaplain of the Clippers. I had no clue.
Yeah.
Those are
Chambers,
great stories.
Chris Chambers years, buddy.
Wow. Amazing. Hold on. No, Tom Chambers.
Tom
Chambers.
Tom Chambers.
Tom Chambers, the 7-foot guy.
He jumped over.
Yes.
The
7-foot white guy, not the bulked up Wisconsin wide receiver.
Chris Chambers number at 84.
Yes,
I think.
80.
I think I was in Cleveland when he was there. Actually,
dude, he was good. Yeah. Well, for a minute. The great Daniel Jeremiah. Thanks, sir.
See you, buddy.
Love having Daniel Jeremiah on the show. Go listen to his 40s and Free Agents podcast there with Greg Rosenthal, where DJ tells the story about his dad, famous pastor, big TV show, a lot of books over the years, was the chaplain for the San Diego Clippers 100 years ago. And DJ used to play hoops with Bill Walton's kids. Just crazy stories there. All right, so we're sitting here heading into Week 15, and I have a legitimate handed down from the NFL elimination scenario for the Kansas City Chiefs. They are out this week. In Week 15, if they lose to the Chargers, plus the Bills win, the Jaguars win, and the Texans win, there are other scenarios that include an Indianapolis win, other scenarios that include a Houston win and an Indianapolis win. You get my point. It's not hard. It is a 4-team parlay for the Chiefs to get bounced this weekend. I want to play you Jason and Travis, more importantly here, Travis Kelce on the New Heights podcast, and just listen to him and read his body language.
Like, I've always had the answers in years past, and this year I just can't find them. And I keep thinking if I show up to work and I put in the work and I fix the issues through my practice habits and through perfecting the game plan and my fundamentals and what I'm being taught, and go out there and try and play my ass off for my guys next to me, it's all going to come together like it has in years past. And this year is just not, man.
Jori, I don't know that I've seen the guy that down.
Yeah, it's interesting because I would be surprised if this was the first time that he's been this down in his playing career. The question is just, why now are we allowed to see it, or is he choosing to let us see it? And when I look at his numbers, I mean, his catch percentage is still high. His yards per reception, yards per game are not much different than last year. I recognize 2024 wasn't the best year of his career. Even his yards after the catch ranks very favorably among tight ends. And so it's interesting to me that his individual performance has actually not fallen off significantly, even if I recognize that the Texans game was not a great game for him. I think this is more we as a Chiefs team are not winning. We are not going to the playoffs, and you do get used to it going every year. And so I think to me there is kind of this probably eventual recognition that we're turning over, and it's kind of a question is this last offseason for me? Am I done now? Where are the Chiefs? Because the Chiefs that have been here the last 7 years are not there. That doesn't mean they're not good anymore, but there is a transition happening.
Yeah, I think you hit on it, really in the latter portion of your comments. I watched him against the Texans, and I texted with some people actually as I was watching the game. When he went to the bench late in that game, he looked devastated. And I texted some people and I said, are you watching this? Because it looks to me like that's it. Like Travis Kelce, it just sunk in. We're probably not making the playoffs, and I'm probably done after this season, which means this is it. I'm playing out the rest of my NFL mortality on the field right now, and this is what it looks like for me to realize that. That's what it felt like to me when I watched the Houston Texans and them lose to the Houston Texans. And then the Heights podcast, to me, it just felt like an extension of it. I was watching that guy on the field against the Texans late. And, I think it's sometimes you see these players, they run into champagne problems where a large extent of their career, you've been so successful that the first time you really kind of get left out, right? You're playing musical chairs and you don't have the chair. It can be a really daunting reality that hits you. But I think for him, it's just doubly so. We expected a lot of Travis Kelce this year because of, he put in all the work in the offseason. And there's obviously been the entire story of his non-football life has taken over who Travis Kelce is, at least from the outside looking in for the last couple of years. But again, he started this as a football player. He started this coming from, Cincinnati and that whole story, and then his brother, the two of them having that bond, creating the podcast. There's so much wrapped up in his football life. It does not surprise me to see him react the way that he has. And I really, again, I think go back to Sunday. It was striking to me to see his demeanor and just how heavy it looked when he went to the bench late in that game with the reality that they were going to lose this game. And I feel like people across the league absorbed it the same way, because the few that I reached out to who actually responded, who were watching it, said the same thing. They're like, yeah, he looks like a guy who's done. He knows he's done, and it's a very sad moment for him to have that realization in the middle of a football game.
Yeah, it's hard to come to the end of the road, and the realization that you've been trying to put off. You know it's there, but you don't allow yourself to actually go there. You have to live in the moment and enjoy where you are. But when you do get that realization that it is over, it's hard to hide. And I mean, we're all human beings. Like, you empathize with the guy. I was watching Hard Knocks last night, the NFC East version, in season version. And they did a great job because it's NFL Films, but a great job of showing during the week how much Zach Ertz is beloved by that building, by his teammates, by his coaches. They love Zach Ertz. And then they have the cameras ISO'd on him when he gets hurt. And he's mic'd up, and you hear him weeping. And you hear him on the ground when the training staff comes out. I mean, it is heart-wrenching, with the towel over his head when he's being carted off and teammates are coming over and, you know, putting their hand on his shoulder and saying a prayer and whispering words of encouragement, because you know, and he knows, like, this is it. And I hope it isn't. I hope Zach Ertz can get that knee fixed and you hit an off season and go, you know what, I can still do this. A little bit different than Travis Kelce. I have seen that look on Kelce's face before. I think I've told this story. I don't know that I've told it here. I was fortunate enough to watch the Super Bowl last year in New Orleans from a suite right down the hall, like 3 doors down from where Travis's significant other and his brother Jason were watching. So after the game, I hung around to avoid the traffic. And when I left, all the entertainment cameras had figured out where they were. So they were all in the hallway filming the door, trying to get a shot of the most famous woman on earth leaving. What they did get a shot of is Travis Kelce eventually coming up from the locker room and walking down that hallway. And you saw that look on his face. And when I saw that look on his face, I was absolutely convinced he was done. He was not going to play anymore. This is it. He knows it's over. He decided to come back. I'm happy he did. But now he realizes yet again, like, this probably is it. I hope he comes back, because I am not one to suggest here that the Chiefs are going to go back-to-back seasons without missing the playoffs. And they're still not officially out yet. But, man, let's not forget, people watching the show, Travis Kelce is not just like an avatar on your Yahoo Fantasy app. Like, he's a real human being. And you see that right then and there. Let's get on to the Bears. They go from the 1 seed to the bottom of the NFC, but they're still in the playoffs. And they get the Browns this week after losing to the Packers in an emotional rivalry game at Lambeau last week. Ben Johnson is not calling this a must-win game. However, he did say this.
Hey, we've heard you tell us that 11 wins is kind of what you had circled for entry into the tournament. We've heard players repeat that to us. Is that something that you guys have talked about in meetings? Is there a fine line between, okay, this is what's in front of us versus not talking about it too much, that sort of thing?
We have goals, and we know what's out in front of us. And so it's just that awareness that every game matters. Every game matters. And that's where this week, you know, you go from an emotional rivalry game like we just played. This week is equally important. We need this win. We desperately need this win.
Again, not a must-win, Charles, but Ben Johnson saying desperately need this win. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the micro, right? I mean, that's something he learned from Dan Campbell. Focus on the micro. Don't focus on the macro, because the macro, you lose games in the macro. You start to look ahead, and mentally it's a whole different trapdoor you can fall into. And I think what's interesting about this too is I've heard Dan Campbell say this in the last couple of weeks. At some point, I remember hearing Dan Campbell in a press conference say, when he's talking to his team, he's not trying to, do the overall number of wins or whatever. And he said, but maybe 11 gets you there. Dan Campbell's thinking about that number 11 too. And these are the two teams, obviously, that meet in the season finale. We talked about this yesterday on the show, that could end up being kind of a play-in game between the Bears and the Lions. But, this to me, Ben Johnson, again, it echoes where he came from. It echoes Dan Campbell. And frankly, that's the way the Bears have to approach this. Right now, if I'm the Bears, I'm thinking, is Rome Odunze going to be on the field for us? Because not only do we need every single game and every single quarter, we need every single player who can be healthy for us. And, that was something that that was something that Ben Johnson said about, Odunze and Caleb Williams, that they have kind of a special connection right now that's missing. And that they have to be able to have that down the stretch, for the Bears to ultimately be successful. I'll be honest with you. I'm beyond Ben Johnson, the schemer. I have been wildly impressed with Ben Johnson as the head coach, the leader. There's a number of things I didn't know about him that I have seen come to fruition from his introductory press conference, the Matt LaFleur comments aside. But I thought he handled it really well after losing to the Packers and Matt LaFleur. Over the course of the season, though, even with the struggles they've had, the trying to get Caleb Williams molded into the type of quarterback where, he can reach that ceiling, I think he's been extremely impressive as a head coach and leader for that organization. And again, the things that we didn't see and couldn't see because he was a coordinator have really come out over the course of this season. And I think a press conference like this, what we just played, is just another chapter in what he brought to the table that teams saw that maybe we couldn't because he wasn't put in the position to say it.
Yeah, I definitely agree that I think that sometimes we wonder, are these schematic geniuses going to be the leader of men also? And we didn't know what he was going to look like addressing the entire team, needing to talk not just to the offense, but also to defense and special teams. Was he going to be motivating? Was he going to be, I don't think any of us expected, taking his shirt off in the locker room and his good, better, best chant that he has? I mean, you have every different element of it. And there's also elements of this that, yes, we knew he was schematically talented, and obviously that's an understatement, but there's the team building element that's really impressed people. When I talk to people around the league about what's working for them, do you believe in the Bears? There is kind of a sense, and not only on the motivational standpoint, but also on the roster building philosophy, he really has emulated what they were doing in Detroit. Hey, we desperately need to upgrade our offensive line in this offseason if we want to be able to have the quarterback play like you want him to play. And hey, we're actually looking against the Eagles to have our guys just run it up their throats, not have it be where Caleb has to light it up to win. Like, the quarterback is not actually necessarily the feature of Ben's offense in the way that some people might think he would have wanted it to be because he was working with the talent, the caliber of Caleb Williams. It's more, hey, I want you to run this system excellently as opposed to just throw it downfield excellently. And I think that they have been committed to that. And he's not afraid, even though he has a talented arm, to stick with what he believes will work and will most challenge defenses.
What real quick, not to cut you off there, but one, Marv Levy, this is how old I am. I will never forget Marv Levy telling me something 20 plus years ago, right? Bill's coach went to 4 Super Bowls. I mean, iconic head coach. He once told me one of the most important parts of being a head coach is not only how you respond to adversity, but how you learn to focus guys inside of that adversity moving forward. And I've always thought about that. And to me, that's exactly what Ben Johnson's talking about. We're facing some adversity here. How do I focus people inside this right now as we move forward?
And coincidentally, Marv Levy's still living his best life on Lakeshore Drive, right up the road from Soldier Field. We have exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in the show, and I told Madison we are sticking to it. In Philadelphia today, Nick Sirianni had to answer on WIP, would you bench Jalen Hurts for Tanner McKee? He said, Jori, no, I think that's ridiculous. Do you think it's ridiculous?
I do think it's ridiculous. This guy was the Super Bowl MVP not so long ago. To me, the question is not, does he have the talent and ability? The question is, are things working? Is the chemistry between the play caller and quarterback working? The quarterback and his weapons? And I mean, in Nick's conversation with reporters on Wednesday, he talked a lot about, Jalen's always done a good job taking what the defense gives him, and here's how people around can help. So yes, they have a problem. Yes, it's going to threaten their playoff chances if they keep it up. And obviously 5 turnovers and 2 on one single play are not going to cut it. But suggesting that Jalen is not the Eagles' best option, especially this season, I think that's unrealistic.
Charles?
Yeah, I've been working on Jalen Hurts' story, and everybody I've reached out to about the potential of the Eagles, moving off of Jalen Hurts has just been scoffed at. So it's not going particularly well when it comes to that story. I mean, not a lot of people are buying into this idea that Jalen Hurts could potentially not be the Eagles quarterback next season. Everybody thinks that's ridiculous, it seems.
All right, and well, call me ridiculous then. But whatever. Hey, losing 3 in a row obviously does that. I think they turn it around this week. If they don't turn it around this week, that would just be bonkers. They face Kenny Pickett, a guy who was a backup to Jalen Hurts last year, won a ring as an Eagle, and as an Eagle fan as a kid. He's from New Jersey. Pretty cool for Kenny Pickett. It's not official, but Geno Smith is banged up, so it could be Kenny Pickett. Time for one more thing before we go. Jori, you go first because you have something on the Eagles.
Yeah, they had a positivity rabbit in the locker room last week, and they have taken it out. So whatever positivity they used to fuel that 5-turnover Jalen Hurts game is no more. We are all negativity in Philadelphia, which the city already was.
I mean, of all towns to need a positivity rabbit, look at the positivity rabbit. That thing is unbelievable. Charles, is your one more thing better than a positivity rabbit?
I hope so. Philly even hates rabbits now, so just add that to the list. My one more thing.
Bunny.
The NFL is shortening the first round of the draft. 2 minutes. Now, the 10 minutes the teams got to make draft selections has now been shortened to 8 minutes, which means 64 minutes of airtime on television that you can't sell ads. So that's millions of dollars the NFL is potentially purging for its pocket. But what's interesting about this is Peter O'Reilly, an executive for the NFL who handles the draft, amongst other things, club business, huge NFL executive, I think had a hand in this. And I'm telling you right now, it's about improving that on-site experience as much as possible. And waiting 10 minutes between picks when the NFL wants you to hold out on that drama, shortening to 8, that's not a small thing. Pretty interesting to see the NFL actually take some money out of its pockets in terms of the TV revenue.
Is it a coincidence that they do it when the draft is in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it'd be freezing.
Yeah, let's just throw that out there. My one more thing is this. Jay Cutler says, hey, give him a call. He'll come back too. He would come back and play for Ben Johnson. And I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he was asked the question when on the radio yesterday on ESPN 1000 in Chicago with dear friends Mark Silverman and Tom Waddle. Hey, if Ben Johnson called and they needed somebody because everybody got hurt, would you answer the phone and come back and play? And Jay Cutler was like, for Ben Johnson? Absolutely. So this is the new trend. Old quarterbacks sitting at home, sick of reading their names in the tabloid headlines. Not that Phillip Rivers ever did anything in the tabloids, but Jay Cutler might have. Yeah, give us a call. We want to play football as well. Coming up on Thursday, our full Week 15 preview show. This has been a fun one. I wish you and your family a positivity rabbit, whatever that is, somehow this evening. And join us again tomorrow. For Jori and C-Rob, I'm Andrew Siciliano. So long, everybody.